You ready? You ready? تفضل.
طيب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحبنا أو كما يحب ربنا سبحانه وتعالى ويرضاه. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله بلغ رسالة ربه وأدى أمانته ونصح لأمته وجاهد في سبيل الله تعالى حتى توفاه الله، فصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأزواجه وذرياته وصحابته ومن سار على منهاجه واقتفى أثره ودعا بدعوته إلى يوم الدين. وبعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Our third session, if I'm not mistaken, regarding Tarikh Tadween al-Hadith. Tarikh Tadween al-Hadith. History of the compilation of the Sunnah and the books of Hadith. It's not a strange course to you, whereas we have done two full, extensive, intensified sessions on the topic. We previously explained what is our source, our madda, what is the material for the curriculum. And if I'm not mistaken, we left off on page 98 or page 99, in which we were speaking on some of the breakthroughs and some of the giant leaps that were taken in the golden century or the golden era, al-Qarn al-Thalith, the third century. And from those leaps and those breakthroughs were kutub al-masanid, is that there were books that were written in a special way, a special style, and relatively unprecedented style. And now those books, which were special and new and unprecedented, were called kutub al-masanid. Kutub al-masanid. Now obviously our time is tight, our time is restricted, so we don't want to waste time going back and mentioning what we already explained in detail, even though that's not a waste of time. That's never a waste of time, reviewing. And there's some scholars who will repeat the same point 3 and 4 times in one lesson. 3 and 4 times in one lesson, they will say the same thing over and over again. So it's not about being redundant, it's a benefit, but it is an intensified course. And alhamdulillah, all of the lessons have been uploaded, and you can watch them and listen to them and benefit from them. We previously said that in the generations before the third, there were books of hadith. We've proven that. And hadiths were written down, and they were documented. But oftentimes the hadiths will be put down, they will be documented, they will be jotted down along with other than the speech of the Prophet ﷺ, such as the speech of the Sahaba and such as the speech of the Tabi'een, the different aqdiyah, such as Muwatta Malik. Until the time came in the third century in which they started writing a new genre of books, a new class, a new type. And that new class or that new genre was called Kutub al-Masanid, in which they only put down the speech of the Prophet ﷺ. And also they organized it and they categorized it differently than that which had been previously done. طيب. So on page 99 of Sheikh Dr. Zahrani's book, rahimahullah, he says, الفصل الأول كتب المسانيد تعريفها المسند لغة ما ارتفع عن الأرض وعلى عن السطح وفي الاصطلاح أطلقه المحدثون على معنيين. And in the last 2 sessions we had the book here on the projector screen, but for one reason or another we don't have it today. Inshallah we'll have it tomorrow. So I personally apologize for that with regards to it not being set up for you to read it and see what I'm saying and follow along, and also for the brothers and sisters to read themselves. So we don't have that here tonight like we had the previous times before. Okay? So he goes on and speaks on the definition of the word al-musnad. What is al-musnad? And we're only going to stick with one definition. He says, الثاني كتب المسانيد وهي التي تخرج الأحاديث على أسماء الصحابة وضم أحاديث كل واحد من الصحابة بعضها إلى بعض مثل مسند الإمام أحمد وأبي يعلى الموصلي وغيرهما. He says that the Musnad is a book of hadith just like Sahih Bukhari, and we don't have to go and speak on Sahih Bukhari yet because that's going to come later on, like Muwatta Malik, if you want to stick with the historical order. The Muwatta of Malik is a book of hadith, but it's not a pure book of hadith. It's a hybrid. Imam Malik's book is a book of hadith, but it has other things in there as well. And the way that Imam Malik rahimahullah put his book and ordered it and categorized it, ala abwab al-fiqh, and the chapters of jurisprudence. So the first chapter in Imam Malik's book would be what? Al-wuqut, times of prayer. Asanti, and not at-tahara. And then from there, Imam Malik rahimahullah would go chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter, in which he mentions the hadith of the Prophet with a full chain or with a missing chain, balaghat, whatever. Also statements of the Sahaba, aqdiyah of the Khulafa, statements of the Tabi'een, and also some of the views of Malik, some of the ara of him. He put it in a specific tartib, an order. But the Kutub al-Musnad, not only was it different, whereas it was only the speech of the Prophet, but how they organized it was also considered to be revolutionary. It was a breakthrough. And that was for the collector, the compiler, the author of the Musnad book, to have studied with his teachers and learned from his shuyukh and heard the hadith from his teachers, and he wrote them down and memorized them. And when it was time for him to write his own book, he would put all of the hadiths that he heard from one companion, meaning from his teacher, narrated from that companion, in one place. And then another companion, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth. So, as an example of one of the 7 companions who narrated the most hadiths is Jabir ibn Abdullah, radiallahu anhuma. So all of the hadiths that I heard from my teacher that come from Jabir, I write them down in my book, my Musnad, and I put them in one place, في مكان واحد, بغض النظر عن الموضوع, بغض النظر عن معنى الحديث وموضوع الحديث. هل هو يتعلق بالفقه، يتعلق بالزهد والرقائق، هل يتعلق بالتفسير، هل يتعلق بالأدب، إلى آخره. المهم جاء عن جابر. So any hadith that Jabir reported, I'm going to put in my book, my Musnad, in one place. So let's say, for example, I have 10 hadiths from Jabir. 10 hadiths that I heard from my teacher, and all of them go back to Jabir ibn Abdullah. The hadith number 1, everyone stay with me and count. Hadith number 1 is the Prophet ﷺ was saying, let's say the first hadith is on what? The etiquette of sitting down in tashahhud. And the second hadith is on saying Bismillah before you make wudu. And the third hadith is what happens in the grave. And the fourth hadith is on inheritance. And the fifth hadith is on writing a will. And the sixth hadith is on eating with your left hand. And the seventh hadith is on the explanation of إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. And the eighth hadith is on the punishment of those who pay zakah, who don't pay zakah. Hadith number 9 is on the Prophet's farewell hajj. And hadith number 10 is on using the toothstick, brushing your teeth before making wudu. 10 hadiths, all 10 of those hadiths are not sharing, they aren't sharing one specific topic. They are not sharing one topic. They have different topics, different subject matter. But one thing's for sure is that all of them have been reported by who? Jabir ibn Abdullah. And Muwatta Malik, he would take all 10 of those hadiths that he heard from his teachers, that were all reported from Jabir, and place them in their appropriate and suitable chapters. So the first hadith will be in the beginning, the second hadith that's in the Musnad Ahmad will be in the end of Muwatta. He placed it topically, the topic of the hadith. Alright? So Muwatta Malik is organized based off of the topic, the fiqh topic, in order. Tahara, Salah, Zakah, Hajj, Ramadan, buying and selling, marriage, etc. And in Musnad, what happened in the 3rd century, from the leaps of the 3rd century, the breakthroughs that the ulama made, they start changing and switching up their styles, is that they start making books that were not like this. They were called musnads. And the first distinguishing feature from the muwatta'at and the musannafat, as we explained, we're not going to explain that again. If anyone is lost or any further clarification, please go back to those previous lessons. This is not a session which we can go back and repeat everything over and over again. We have the other classes and lectures for everyone. This is for a specific audience. For a specific audience, okay? If you can catch up and you got it, alhamdulillah. And if not, please go back to the previous recordings. So therefore, the musannafs and the muwatta'at, they put their hadiths in order based off of the kitab. Kitab kada, kitab al-hiba, kitab al-itq, the book of manumitting a slave, the book of giving a gift, the book of inheritance, the book of divorce, kitab al-bugha, the book of rebels, those who are still Muslim, and they go against and they fight the Muslim rulers for one reason or another. Kitab al-mafqud, what happens if a woman is married to someone and her husband becomes missing? His ship crashes. He's missing. How long does she have to wait until the marriage is over, until she can remarry? Everyone understand this? Kutub al-fiqh. And the Musnad, this started organizing hadiths only based off of the narrator. And there is no Qasim ibn Muhammad, Hassan al-Basri, there's no Ikrimah, there's no Dahaq, there's no Sa'id ibn Musayyib, there is no Imam Malik says, I think, I believe. It's none of that. It's only a hadith marfu'ah, a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So this is what a Musnad is. Another very important point is the Musnads in general are not considered to be as authentic as the Muwatta'at and the Musannafat and the Sunan, let alone the Sihah. And we're going to get into that later, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next important point is that within the book being organized and arranged according to the names of the Sahaba, there's also a way of organizing the Sahaba, such as Al-Asharatul Mubasharun, the 10 companions that were promised Jannah, as an example. So someone comes along and he says, I'm going to put their hadiths first. So based off of that, the first hadith in Musnad Ahmad is going to be reported by who? Who? Abu Bakr. And the second hadith is also going to be reported by Abu Bakr. And the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth, and the seventh, and the eighth, until Imam Ahmad is done with the narrations that he compiled and chose to put in his book from only Abu Bakr. So let's say he collected 30 hadiths from Abu Bakr. All 30 of those hadiths are going to have what topic? They're going to share what theme? Huh? None. There is no one theme. There is no what? There is no one theme. But the only thing that those hadiths have in relation is that they are reported from Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. That's it. Everyone understand this? You guys with me or not? You guys with me? Musnad Imam Ahmad is like that. Muwatta Malik, the first 30 hadith, let's say he has 30 hadiths in the first chapter. All of them going to share what theme? The time of prayer. And how many companions narrated those 30 hadiths? First hadith, as an example, we're saying hypothetically, is reported by who? Abu Hurairah, number 2. Ibn Umar, Ibn Mas'ud, Aisha, Salama. No specific one companion is narrating them. But they're all reported on one what? Topic. And that is prayer. Everyone understand the difference here? You guys with me or not? Tight, moving forward. So we just mentioned the first point. He says طريقة ترتيب كتب المسانيد الأولى ترتيب أسماء الصحابة على حروف المعجم من أوائل الأسماء فيبدأ مثلا بأبي بن كعب ثم أسامة بن زيد ثم أنس بن مالك وهكذا إلى آخر الحروف. The different ways in which they would organize the names of the companions. One way, as we just said to you, is based off of their virtue. Their virtue, the 10 being the best. The Sabiqun al-Awwalun. You understand? It's the Ansar, the Muhajirin. And another way is to put the companions' names in order alphabetically. Alphabetically. Alphabetically and not topically. So first and foremost, the first one will be Ubay bin Ka'b. Or as we read the other day in Tuhfat al-Ashraf, Abil Laham. Abil Laham, naam, remember? Abil Laham, the companion that didn't want to eat meat. His name is going to come in the beginning, maybe a few before, as we read, Abi. It's an alif with a med and then a ba. Abil Laham. Ubay ibn Ka'b obviously will come after Abil Laham. And then Usama ibn Zayd. His name starts with a what? Usama, an alif. And then he says Anas bin Malik. Until the end of the alphabet. What companion's name begins with a ya? Yasir. What companion's names begin with a kha? Khalid ibn Walid. Khubayb is a companion. Khabab is a companion or not? Khalid ibn Zayd, companion or not? What companions' names begin with a ghain? Ayn. Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdurrahman ibn Auf. Ammar bin Yasir. وهكذا alphabetically. الثانية الترتيب على القبائل فيبدأ ببني هاشم ثم الأقرب إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في النسب ثم من يليهم. The second way of organizing ترتيب المسند is based off of tribes. The tribes, the clans. So the first thing that a person would mention would be what? Bani Hashim. Then the next tribe with regards to its closeness to the Prophet ﷺ's lineage. Everyone understand this? There's a style. الثالثة الترتيب على قدر سوابق الصحابة في الإسلام ومحله في الدين فيبدأ بالعشرة رضوان الله عليهم ثم المقدمين من أهل بدر ثم يلونهم أهل بيعة الرضوان بالحديبية وهكذا. قال الخطيب وهذه الطريقة الأخيرة أحب إلينا في تخريج المسند. And the third and final way, as I've just explained to you, is putting them in order based off of their virtues. Those who accepted Islam the earliest. Those who accepted Islam the earliest. The 10 promised paradise. Those who came first in Badr, etc. Everyone understand this? طيب. Section number 3. The author, he says, أهم كتب المسانيد. What are some of the most important books of this style, of this genre? What are some of the most important books are called Musnad? You would say what? Musnad Imam Ahmad, for sure. That's the Musnad that you're going to hear about. In the khutbah, the Imam says, أخرجه Imam Ahmad. In Bulugh al-Maram, أخرجه Ahmad. And a book you read in the footnotes collected by Ahmed, right? But there are many books of musnads that came before Imam Ahmed, that came before him, such as number 1, everyone get this down, he says Musnadi or Musnadu Abi Dawood Sulaiman ibn Dawood at-Tayalisi, the Musnad of Imam at-Tayalisi, which is in print. The book is in print, and he died in the year 204. Many years before Imam Ahmad died. If Imam Ahmad died 241, he died 204. So he came before Imam Ahmad. Everyone understand this? He was a predecessor of Ahmad. Why is this book not so famous, not so popular, not in such wide circulation? Not the topic of our discussion. Number 2, he says Musnadu Abi Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah, who died in the year 235. 235. And Ibn Abi Shaybah is famous where or how? What's famous about Ibn Abi Shaybah? What's famous about Ibn Abi Shaybah? Anybody know? What makes Ibn Abi Shaybah so famous and popular? Huh? What about Imam Muslim? حدثنا Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba. That's one of the main names in Sahih Muslim, proving that you guys are not reading Sahih Muslim. Another thing that makes him famous is what? Al-Musannaf. Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba. Right, moving forward. Number 3. He says Musnad Ishaq ibn Ibrahim al-Hanzali. Ishaq ibn Ibrahim al-Hanzali, who died in the year 238. And what's his name? Or what is he famous for? Ishaq ibn Ibrahim al-Hanzali is who? Ibn Rahoya. A famous name, the teacher of Bukhari, the great Imam of Fiqh, the companion of Imam Ahmad, Imam Ishaq. Riwayatu or Masail Ahmad wa Ishaq, right? Ishaq ibn Rahoya is a famous Imam. Number 4. He mentions the Musnad of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. Number 5. Musnad Ahmad ibn Ibrahim al-Dawraqi, who died 246. Number 6. Al-Muntakhabu min Musnad Abd ibn Humayd al-Kishi, who died 249. Abd ibn Humayd. Musnad Abd ibn Humayd, which is in print. And there are many, many others. There are many, many others of all from the genre of al-Masanid. Another very important Musnad, which is one of the biggest, one of the largest, is that which is called Musnad Ahmad ibn Amr ibn Abd al-Khaliq al-Bazzar. Musnad al-Bazzar, al-Bahr al-Zakhar. It's a famous book of Musnad, which you'll read if you're studying Hadiths. And there are many, many others. And there are what? There are many, many others. Tayyib. Now, with regards to the Musnad of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah, who can tell me some interesting facts about this book? Or any facts about the book? What do we know about the Musnad of Imam Ahmad? Over 40,000 hadiths. She says that it has over 40,000 hadiths. That's a rather what? That's a large work. 40,000 statements, 40,000 stories. That's a large work. But does that mean that there are 40,000 different hadiths? So what's meant by what is mal maqsood bi kalimat hadith عند هؤلاء? Riwayat. How? What do you mean riwayat? Yani, if it's one companion, 2 companions, 3 companions, 5 companions who all narrate the same story, riwayat kulli sahabi min هؤلاء الصحابة الأربعة تسمى إيش? It's called a hadith. مستقل. It's a separate hadith. أو روايات the mutaba'at واختلاف الأوجه. That's also called a hadith. So it may not actually be 40,000 different statements of the Prophet. It could only be 20,000. And the other 20,000 are repetitive but narrated from different companions. أو اختلف المخرج. طيب. What else can we say about Musnad Imam Ahmad? What else do we know about his book? This is one of the greatest books of Islam. One of the greatest books of hadith that have been written. What else do we know about it? Anything else? طيب. Moving forward. The author, he says, rahimahullah, طريقته أو طريقة ترتيبه رتبه رحمه الله على قدر سابقه أو سابق الصحابة في الإسلام ومحله من الدين. So first and foremost, point number 1, Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he put the Sahaba in order based off of their precedence to Islam. Imam Ahmad did not start off with tribes, nor did he start off with alphabetical order, but he only put the companions in order based off of their rushing and racing to Islam. So, without reading the Musnad Imam Ahmad, the first 10 companions in his book are who? Who are the first 10? Abu Bakr, Umar. كيف Aisha? How can it be Aisha? Aisha is not from those who rushed forth to Islam. Aisha is young. Abu Bakr will be first. Number 2 will be Umar. 3, Uthman 4. Ali number 5. Zayd ibn. Huh? Zayd ibn Haritha. Thabit. Allah. Who the 10 companions promised Jannah? Al-Ashara. In order. Sa'id ibn Zayd. Jazakallahu khairan. Sa'id ibn Zayd. Not Sa'id. We said Zayd. يعني كيف هذا? Sa'id ibn Zayd. طيب. Not Zayd ibn Thabit. Okay, without order. The other 6 are who? Talha. Abdurrahman. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. Sa'id ibn Zayd. Who else? How about Abu Ubaid ibn al-Jarrah? Everyone understand this? So those are the first 10 people in the what? Musnad Ahmad. Based off of who came to Islam what? First. As-sabiqa fil Islam. Everyone understand this? That's first and foremost. Point number two regarding his book. How many hadiths are in his book? قال الحافظ أبو موسى المديني فأما عدد أحاديثه فلم أزل أسمع من أفواه الناس أنها 40,000 إلى أن قرأت على أبي منصور بن زريق القزاز بزايين ببغداد قال حدثنا أبو بكر الخطيب قال حدثنا ابن المنادي قال لم يكن أحد في الدنيا أروع عن أبيه منه يعني عبد الله بن أحمد بن حنبل لأنه سمع المسند وهو 30,000 والتفسير وهو 120,000 فلا أدري هل الذي ذكره ابن المنادي أراد به ما لا مكرر فيه أو أراد غيره مع المكرر. طيب, so therefore, first and foremost, how many hadiths are in Musnad Imam Ahmad? It's not exactly 40,000. Some say 30, some say 34, 37. Al-Muhim from 30,000 to 40,000. That's the number of hadith in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. In brief. Next point. عدد الصحابة المخرجة مساندهم في المسند. قال أبو موسى فأما عدد الصحابة فنحو 700 رجل ومن النساء 100 ونيف. وقال ابن الجزري قد عددتهم فبلغوا 600 ونيفا و90 سوى النساء وعددت النساء فبلغن 96 واشتمل المسند على نحو 800 من الصحابة سوى ما فيه مما لم يسمى من الأبناء والمبهمات وغيرهم. How many companions are in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad? How many companions did he mention? In general, he says 700 men. 700 men. And 150 women, roughly. 150 women. 700 men. So the 700 different companions, whether they have one hadith, or 20, or 100, or 3,000, or 4,000, mentioned in Musnad Imam Ahmad. So if I asked you right now to mention 700 Sahaba, could we count 700 companions? Could we get to 100 if we sat down? 50. Can we name the name of 50 companions? 50? Let's try. Number 1. Abu Bakr. Alright, let's just keep it simple. Al-Ashara. The 10 promised Jannah. 9 wives of the Prophet. That's 19, but we're doing the women after the men. Start as 10. We have 40 left. All the Abdullahs who are? Ibn Umar, Ibn Mas'ud, Ibn Abbas, Ibn Amr ibn al-As, Abu Dhar. So far we have, how many Abdullahs we said before we get to Abu Dhar? That's how many? We said 5 of them? So we have 5 plus 10, that's 15. Abu Dhar is 16. Salman is 17. Abu Sa'id, 18. Huh? Anas ibn Malik is 20, correct? Or 19? That's 20? That's 19. Number 20. Khalid bin Walid is 20. We said Salman. Akasha is 21. Khalid bin Walid, 22. Osama ibn Zayd, 23. Zayd ibn Haritha, 24. Abu Hurairah, 25. Bilal, 26. Khabbab, 27. We said Anas. Huh? Mu'adh, 28. Qulna Salman. Khubayb. Everyone understand this? So we're almost at 30. So just imagine if you actually sat down, how many other companions' names you could what? Mention. So he said 700 men and 100 women, or over 100. So how many women can we name from the Sahaba, from the Sahabiyats? The Prophet's wives, he died with how many? Who were? Aisha, Salama, Habiba, Sauda, Maymuna, Hafsa, Zainab, Maria, or Maria? Which one? وهكذا. Are you understand this? وهكذا. Fatima bint Qais. وهكذا. طيب. This is not including companions whose names were unknown. Companions' names who were what? Unknown. In which the Tabi'i says, حدثني رجل من أصحاب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. حدثني رجل صاحب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. مبهم. Everyone understand this? Or the children, al-abna, a young man or young woman from the Sahaba. وهكذا. وهكذا. Next point. He says, شروط الإمام أحمد. قال الحافظ أبو موسى المديني لم يخرج أحمد في مسنده إلا عمن ثبت عنده صدقه وديانته دون من طعن في أمانته. وقال الشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية شرط المسند أقوى من شرط أبي داود في سننه. وقد روى أبو داود في سننه عن رجال أعرض عنهم أحمد في المسند، ولهذا كان الإمام أحمد لا يروي في المسند عمن يعرف أنه يكذب مثل محمد بن سعيد المسلوب ونحوه، لكن قد يروي عمن يضاعف لسوء حفظه فإنه يكتب حديثه ليعتضد به ويعتبر به. What was the shart? What was the prerequisite for Imam Ahmad quoting a narrator in his book? Did he collect narrations from anyone? Or another question, Hisham, is, are all the hadiths in Musnad Ahmad authentic? هل اشترط الصحة? Did he say that I only collect genuine reports, such as Bukhari, for example, or such as Ibn Hibban, or Al-Hakim, or Ibn Khuzaymah, or Muslim, or anyone else who التزم الصحة. التزم إيش؟ الصحة بغض النظر عن من انتقده. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, what was his madhab regarding what hadiths he put in his book? What's the answer, guys? Adala. What does that adala mean? They have to be known to be a Muslim, of age, trustworthy. What else? They're not an intentional liar. So Imam Ahmad, all hadiths in his book are not necessarily what? Genuine. And he never claimed that. He never claimed that. That was not the reason why he wrote his book. But according to these scholars, Abu Musa al-Madini, Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, and many others, they say that the hadiths of Imam Ahmad are generally reliable. Generally what? Reliable. And there's no one in his book which is a blatant liar, a kadhab, a fabricator. Everyone clear on this? So, let's ask a question with regards to Musnad Imam Ahmad in comparison to Sahih Bukhari or Sahih Muslim. Let's see who's smart enough to answer the question properly. What's the difference between those hadiths? What's the difference between the two hadiths in comparison? Who's witty enough to answer the question properly? Obviously, the question is a trap. It's a trick question. Imam Bukhari came after Ahmad. After. So what does that mean? That a lot of the hadiths in Bukhari and Muslim are hadiths which are Musnad Ahmad. Everyone understand this? A lot of hadiths that Bukhari put in his book and Muslim put in his book are also collected in Imam Ahmad's book. Let alone the fact that Imam Bukhari studied with Imam Ahmad. Everyone understand this? And this is a very important point, is that when people talk about Bukhari and Bukhari is fabricated and it's made up and it's not authentic, etc. Maybe, say that if you want, that's fine. But Islam did not begin and end with Imam Bukhari. Islam did not begin nor end with Imam Bukhari. Islam did not begin and end with Imam Muslim. Hadith of the Prophet and the culture of Hadith and Sunnah did not what? Begin nor end with Bukhari and Muslim. Everyone understand this? There are books of Hadith that came what before? Bukhari and Muslim. Everyone understand the point I'm trying to get to? Islam, listen carefully, Islam did not begin, nor did it end with Sahihain. So even if they're all fabricated, it's all lies, no problem, we still have our religion. We still have what? Our religion. Let alone the fact that there is there in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, is there a hadith which is a major part of Islam, a major part of the creed of Islam, the halal and the haram, major pinnacle part of the deen that can only be found in Bukhari and Muslim? Bring me one of the pillars of Islam, or the arkan of Iman, or the major aqeedah, the major things that we do on a daily basis, and which is no other source but Bukhari and Muslim. Everyone understand this? Everybody with me or not? So the point I'm trying to get to is, when someone says that Bukhari and Muslim are fabricated, or every hadith is authentic, you don't sit there and start debating with them and arguing with them, because they're just reiterating words that they have heard, and they have answers that are ready made for you to say, no, it's all authentic. But if you totally sidestep them and move out of the way and say, all right, no problem, it's all mawdu', sahih. But what about Musnad Imam Ahmad or Muwatta Malik? They have not prepared an answer for that. They have not what? They have not prepared an answer for that. Everyone understand the way to debate and the way to defend Islam? If you're debating someone and arguing over a point, the worst thing that you can do is respond to them in their preparation. Everyone understand this? They're prepared for that. They're what? They're prepared for that. But if you tell them something that they've never heard of or thought of, nor those who they're following, then what argument can they make? Everyone understand this? It's one of the most important principles. هذا من قواعد يعني. The most important principles of successful niqash or munadhara is to move out of the way with the orthodox basic stuff. That's what they're trained to do, to talk about. Mention something that they've never even thought about. And then obviously they're going to be totally dizzy and off balance. I don't know. And that's when you sweep their legs. Everyone understand this point here? So if Bukhari and Muslim are fabricated and made up, we have books of hadith that came what? Before Bukhari and Muslim. And we also have books of hadith that did what? Came after Bukhari and Muslim. Everyone understand this? And there's not one single hadith in Bukhari and Muslim which is the pillar of Islam, the foundation of the deen, and is only found in that book. So what are you saying? What's the point of saying that is all, if it is fabricated, how does it hurt us as Muslims? It doesn't. Everyone understand this? And oftentimes people, they get stuck in this concept of, no, we have to talk about it and defend it. No, we don't. Because it doesn't make a difference. Let alone the fact that Bukhari and Muslim is not fabricated, and they are genuine, authentic books, etc. But that's after you've what? Outflanked them. Everyone understand this? So therefore, Musnad Imam Ahmad rahimahullah is generally a reliable book. Not every single hadith is considered authentic to Ahmad. Not every single hadith in the book is considered authentic to other than Imam Ahmad. But there are many hadiths, and the concept of Bukhari and Muslim and the 4 books of Sunnah, they wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for Musnad Imam Ahmad. If Imam Ahmad has 40,000 hadiths, just out of common sense, the percentage of those being the same hadiths in Bukhari and Muslim and Sunnah Abi Dawud is going to be what? Extremely high. Extremely high. Tayyib. Moving forward. He says, قال حنبل جمعنا أحمد بن حنبل أنا وصالح وعبد الله وقرأ علينا المسند وما سمعه غيرنا قال هذا الكتاب جمعته وانتقيته من أكثر من 700 ألف حديث و50 ألف وما اختلف فيه المسلمون من حديث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فارجعوا إليه فإن وجدتموه وإلا فليس بحجة. قال الإمام الذهبي هذا القول منه على غالب الأمر وإلا فلنا أحاديث قوية في الصحاح والسنن والأجزاء وما هي في المسند. وقدر الله تعالى أن الإمام قطع الرواية قبل تهذيب المسند قبل وفاته ب13 سنة، فتجد في الكتاب أشياء مكررة ودخول مسند في مسند وسند أو سند في سند وهو نادر. Imam Ahmad, it says here, so let's skip that, let's move forward. We mentioned about the hadith, the different versions of the printed book. The last thing that we'll mention now is called Inayatul Ulama'i bil Musnad. What was the scholars' care and attention of this great and grand work? How much attention did they pay to this book? What service did they give to this book? Did it catch their attention? Did it catch their eyes? Or it was kitab min al-kutub? And whenever you want to learn about the status of a book, or the status of a person, or the status of a movement, look at the inayah, the care that the people give to it, and the attention that it demands. So if we have a book that was written, and this book was criticized, the book was summarized, the book was explained, the book was defended, the book was translated, the book was passed on from country to country, generation to generation, the book was put into another book, etc., then you automatically know that the book is of some what? It's some value. Once again, listen carefully. We have a book written in Islam, and there's several people who came along and did what with the book? What's the first thing that we said? Criticized it. To criticize something shows that it has value. You're not going to criticize a work unless it has some type of what? Some type of value. All of these different ulama that came behind and they said this hadith and that hadith, that shows its status. And that's another very important point with regards to Bukhari and Muslim. Please, guys, learn these principles of wisdom in a debate. Take them for free. It's the sheer fact that you're talking about Bukhari and Muslim proves the status of the book. You're having an argument on a man who came 1,200 years ago, and you're still debating. That shows that his book is of value to you. And if Imam al-Bukhari has 7,000 hadiths in his book, and only 40 of them were criticized, or 100 of them have criticized, what does that prove about the rest of the hadiths? 6,900 hadiths that were not criticized. Only an idiot would ignore and neglect that percentage. 7,000 shots you took shooting the ball, and you only missed 100. They will call you an accurate three-point shooter or an inaccurate. Which one? Check. Let alone the fact if those 100 hadiths were criticized, all of them, the scholars didn't agree that the criticizer was right. 100 of those missed free throws weren't my fault. Some goaltended them, or it was a problem with the clock, or something else happened. But my ball was accurate. Everyone understand this? So you have to learn how to use wisdom. وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ إِيش أَحْسَنُ. Huh? You have to debate with them in the best manner. And obviously they're not ready and they're not prepared for that answer either. The first thing that they're waiting for you to do is to do what? And say what? They're waiting for you to run from the answer. No, that's not true. Bukhari is 100% authentic, brother. No, that's not true. The scholars, they're ready for that. They're waiting for that answer. And they have their shubuhat, their doubts that are already on the side, prepared for them to mention. But they're not ready for you to say, I agree that 100 hadiths in Bukhari are daif. I agree. And they're not ready for that answer. Everyone understand this? Let alone the fact if those 100 hadiths are not even what? Truly weak. وَهَكَذَا. So therefore, Imam Ahmad's Musnad, what was his status among the people of knowledge? Number one, or what are the steps of determining a book being of high status is what? Is that the book is going to be what? Criticized or praised or translated or summarized, explained, وَهَكَذَا. Inayatul ulama'i bil kitab. That shows that it wasn't just a book that sat on the shelf, but it was a book that took a great deal of attention from the great scholars of Islam. And that is exactly what happened to the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. The Musnad of Imam Ahmad. The first point he says, رتبوا على معجم الصحابة والرواة عنهم كترتيب كتب الأطراف للحافظ أبي بكر محمد بن عبد الله بن المحب الصامت. أخذ الحافظ أبو الفداء عماد الدين إسماعيل بن كثير رحمه الله تعالى كتاب المسند بترتيب ابن المحب الصامت، وضم إليه الكتب الستة ومسند البزاري ومسند أبي يعلى الموصلي ومعجم الطبراني الكبير، ورتب جميعا على نفس ترتيب ابن المحب للمسند وسماه جامع المسانيد والسنن. First and foremost is tartib. Many of the ulama of Islam, they took the musnad and they reorganized it. They reorganized it. And they didn't keep it how Imam Ahmad wrote it, but they reorganized it to make it easier. They reorganized it. From them is Imam Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn al-Muhib as-Samit. And after them came Ibn Kathir, the author of Tafsir. FYI, Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah was muhaddith. He was a great scholar of hadith. And he wasn't just an exegete. He wasn't just someone who explained the Quran. He was also a muhaddith. And he was also a Shafi'i. There are many different talents and skills that Ibn Kathir had. And some people say that Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, he went blind writing that book, Jami' al-Masanid. That it was such a big book, a large, voluminous, exhaustive book, and he only had a candle flickering at night, the lamp, and he eventually went blind writing the book. Look at the diligence upon ilm. We have lights on and we can't seek knowledge. An iPad that has a battery life for Allahu Alam how many hours, and I'm too lazy to read and to study. We have technology, things are easy and simple. Only Allah knows what they had to go through to write a book and to struggle to author a book. And we can barely write any books ourselves. So la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Then he goes on to say, after mentioning more people who made tartib of the book, ترجم لرجاله الحافظ شمس الدين الحسيني في كتابه إكمال بمن في مسند أحمد من الرجال ممن ليس في تهذيب الكمال. There were men, and there were scholars who wrote about the narrators of Imam Ahmad that are not found in تهذيب الكمال and تهذيب التهذيب لأنهم رجال أصحاب الكتب الستة وكثير من رجال أصحاب الكتب الستة هم رجال أحمد. طيب. And there are many others who made shuruh, and there are those who defended the musnad, etc. طيب. Moving forward. How much time do we have before the adhan? It's time now. What time is the adhan, ikhwan? 7:45 is the adhan. Okay, shukran. Al-Fasl al-Thani, Al-Kutub al-Sitta. The second thing, which is a distinguishing feature of the 3rd century, is that which is called Al-Kutub al-Sitta. The 6 books. The 6 books. So let's go back now. Let's go back, everybody. We said that the 3rd century was what? The golden era. The best of the best lived and died during that century. And the best of the best wrote books of hadith, what? During that century. Number 2, we said as we have small steps and we have leaps, you read the history of automobiles or aviation and planes. There's research, there's funding, there's spending, there's debating, and then every 10 years or 5 years or 20 years comes a what? Comes a leap. The first airplane made. And then the first jet engine made. And then the first this made. And then the first that one made. They have leaps. Leap. Leap. Everyone understand this? So in the history of a hadith compilation, there are what? There are leaps. And then we break those leaps down into centuries. So we're done with the 1st and 2nd century. That's finished. We're stuck now in the what? 3rd century. And we said that the 3rd century was the best century. The first leap in the 3rd century was what? The bringing of what? Kutub al-Masanid. The books of what? Musnad, which didn't exist in the what? Previous generations. Done. Number 2, the second leap, or the second distinguishing feature of this era was the books which are called Al-Kutub al-Sitta. Number 3, the third leap was people started making books of a new genre in the 3rd century called Kutub al-Sihah, authentic books. وهكذا. طيب. So what are Al-Kutub al-Sitta? What do we know about Al-Kutub al-Sitta, guys? Who can volunteer with some information about Kutub al-Sitta? Imam al-Bukhari, Sahih al-Imam Muslim, Sunan al-Nasai, Sunan or Jami'? Jami' Tirmidhi, Sunan Abu Dawud, and Sunan Ibn Majah. Okay, Jazakallah khair. And what else do we know about the Kutub al-Sitta? What other information do we have about Kutub al-Sitta? Nothing? No information? No one else knows anything else, Shamli? Nothing else? That's all we know? The most authentic book after the Sahihain is Sunan al-Nasa'i. Tayyib, Jazakallah khairan. Anything else? What else do we know about basic information about these books? Most authentic book after the Quran is Sahih Bukhari. Tayyib. What else do we have, guys? Anything else? No other information about Kutub al-Sitta? That's it? All of them ala tartib wahid. All of them are organized in the same way. And that is based off of the chapters. None of them are musnads. What else do we know about these books? We got to give more information in this, guys. This is really, really, really super poor. This is super poor, Shamli. What other information do we have about 6 other books of Hadith? Abu Hurairah is the greatest narrator in those books. Tayyib. What about the books? The authors? There are what? All of them are Khurasani. All of them came from one region. Not necessarily. Was Imam al-Bukhari Khurasani? We agree on this? Tayyib. All of them have one general geographic location in general. All of these 6 authors generally came from one area. No problem. Khurasan or other than Khurasan in general. None of them came from Sham. None of them came from North Africa. None of them came from Egypt. None of them came from Yemen. None of them came from Iraq. They all generally came from what? Persia in general. All of them are musnada. They all have a hadith reported with the chains. What else do we know about Kutub al-Sitta? What else do we know about the 6 books of hadith? They are the most relied on today in general. Maqbul, acceptable. What else do we know? That they dedicated a lot to Islam. What else do we know about the books, guys? Tangible information. Some of them were teachers and students of others. That they don't share just one lineage of everyone studied under one person. Bukhari taught this one taught that one. They shared knowledge. Good. What else? They're all in English. Can I give one? All of them have been what? Translated into English. Sahih? What else? Okay, so let's mix it up now. Let's mention a book of hadith, a modern book that's very popular in Western countries. Let's say Faza'il al-Amal. Popular or not? Faza'il al-Amal. Popular or not? Popular or not? Bila shak. Of course it's popular. Or Muntakhab al-Hadith. Popular or not? You weren't expecting me to say it, were you? It's like, oh, subhanAllah, Shaykh. Faza'il al-Amal is a very popular book. Muntakhab al-Hadith is what? It's a popular book. What other book is very popular in the West that's been in English? Riyadh al-Salihin, without a doubt. Or what about Mishkat al-Masabih? Very popular. Correct or incorrect? Extremely. What else is very popular? Bulugh al-Maram. 40 Hadith of Nawawi. That was a freebie that no one got. That was sadaqah. 40 Hadith of Nawawi. We mentioned Riyadh al-Salihin already. Kitab Tawheed is not a book of hadith. Umdat al-Ahkam, it's not that popular, especially not in the West. Lulu Marjan, it's more popular. 100 Hadith Qudsi. What else is very popular that you'll find on the bookshelves or the Imam quoting or reading from or on YouTube? Zad al-Ma'ad is a popular book, but it's not a book of hadith, that's a book of seerah. Book of 100 hadiths, etc. All of these books are nothing more than a what? A sifting and melting and summarization of those kutub al-sitta. That's all they are in reality. And of course there are other sources, especially books like Fazal al-Amal, outside of the 6 books, whether it's authentic or fabricated or not. But they generally all have one source for information. And that is the main sources of hadith in Islam are al-kutub al-sitta along with Musnad Ahmad. Everyone understand this? They're all a summary, a breaking down, a categorization of those books. 40 hadith. What hadiths are in 40 hadith are not collected in Kutub al-Sitta? Quickly. That's not true, there are a few. Hilal. Naam. What hadiths are in 40 hadith which are not in the 6 books? Anybody know? Let's start off with hadith number 1. Where is it collected? Number 2. Muslim. Number 3. Hadith of who? Abdullah ibn Umar. Collected where? Number 4 is who? Collected by? Number 5. Collected by? Bukhari Muslim. Number 6. Collected by? Number 7. Collected by? Muslim. Tayyib. Let's ask a question now. Just because the hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim, or Nawawi says akhrajahu or muttafaqun alayhi, does that mean that it's not in Sunnah Abi Dawud? Does it mean that? Does it mean that it's not in the Musnad Ahmad? But if you say Bukhari and Muslim, as if he's saying that's a what? That's enough. Sufficiency. Everyone understand this? But it doesn't mean that the other compilers didn't what? Didn't collect it. Everyone understand these points? Inshallah ta'ala, if you sit down and give it some critical thought, or go on Wikipedia and other sources and other sites, you will find all types of basic, fundamental, and interesting information about the 6 books of hadith. And that is something that all of you should do tonight, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. The author, he says, Al-Fasl al-Thani al-Kutub al-Sitta. قال الحافظ أبو الحجاج المزي رحمه الله المتوفى سنة 742 من الهجرة. وأما السنة فإن الله وفق لها حفاظا عارفين وجهابذة عالمين وصيارفة ناقدين ينفون عنها تحريف الغالين وانتحال المبتلين وتأويل الجاهلين، فتنوعوا في تصنيفها وتفننوا في تدوينها على أنحاء كثيرة وضروب عديدة حرصا على حفظها وخوفا من إضاعتها. وكان من أحسنها تصنيفا وأجودها تأليفا وأكثر صوابا وأقل خطأ وأعمها نفعا وأعودها فائدة وأعظمها بركة وأيسرها مؤونة وأحسنها قبولا عند الموافق والمخالف وجلها موضعا عند الخاصة والعامة صحيح أبي عبد الله محمد بن إسماعيل البخاري، ثم صحيح أبي الحسين مسلم بن حجاج النيسابوري، ثم بعدها كتاب السنن لأبي داود سليمان بن أشعل السجستاني، ثم كتاب الجامع لأبي عيسى محمد بن عيسى الترمذي، ثم كتاب السنن لأبي عبد الرحمن أحمد بن شعيب النسائي أو أحمد بن شعيب النسائي، ثم كتاب السنن لأبي عبد الله محمد بن يزيد المعروف بن ماجه القزويني وإن لم يبلغ درجتهم. ولكل واحد من هذه الكتب الستة ميزة يعرفها أهل هذا الشأن، فاشتهرت هذه الكتب بين الأنام وانتشرت في بلاد الإسلام وعظم الانتفاع بها وحرص طلاب العلم على تحصيلها، وصنفت فيها تصانيف وعلقت عليها تعاليق، بعضها في معرفة ما اشتملت عليه من المتون وبعضها في معرفة ما احتوت عليه من الأسانيد وبعضها في مجموع ذلك. انتهى كلام المزي رحمه الله. Al-Mizzi rahimahullah, who died 742, and we know he was from the disciples and those who benefited and those who were influenced by Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. He says, as far as the Sunnah, then Allah Azza wa Jal, He blessed and He gave divine inspiration to many men and women, and He made them geniuses. He made them prodigies, حُفَاظًا عارفين, people who memorized, and people who had a great deal of intelligence and brain power. وَجَهَابِذَةَ عَالِمِينَ, and he made many men and women experts. وَصَيَارِفَةَ نَاقِدِينَ, that were critical, like an expert jeweler. The jeweler you take your ring to or your watch to, and he feels it, he looks at it, and he says, this is counterfeit. He looks at it and he feels and he says, this is very valuable. He looks at it and he feels and he says, this company did not make a model that wasn't solid gold. So, وهكذا, he is expert. Sayrafi. He knows counterfeit money. He can touch the money. He can feel the money. You go to a money exchange overseas. How fast do they count money? They count money extremely fast. You ever notice that? You make Hajj and Umrah, you give them your $100 bills, it comes up to me. Can you count money that fast? The dollar bills are fresh, crisp. He counts them in a split second because that is what he does. He's an expert jeweler. Everyone understand this? An expert what? An expert jeweler. He can look at it. He can touch it. He knows the models. He knows it by hand, by heart. There's no catalog that he's using because that's what he does day and night, day and night, day and night for the past 50 years. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, He blessed many Muslims and He gave them inspiration to be like this concerning the Sunnah. And what they did were the following. Number one, يَنْفُونَ عَنْهَا تَحْرِيفَ الْغَالِينَ, people distorting the hadith and twisting the hadiths and placing false interpretations. They protected the hadiths from those people. Get out of here. You're not welcome. That's not what the Prophet said. That's not what the Prophet meant. Their interpretation is wrong. And this is something that we need so much in 2019. People who distort the Sunnah and they give a meaning to it that the Prophet did not intend. وَانْتِحَالَ الْمُبْتِلِينَ وَتَأْوِيلَ الْجَاهِلِينَ, those who made up things, those who lied, those who distorted, those who twisted and played around with the words, those who were inaccurate and sloppy with their memorization. They protected the hadiths therefrom. And then he says, فَتَنَوَّعُوا فِي تَصْنِيفِهَا, and there were different schools, and there were different methods. They had different views on what to write about and what to talk about. Some specialized in this, others specialized in that, some had a mixture of both, etc. وَتَفَنَّنُوا فِي تَدْوِينِهَا عَلَى أَنْحَاءَ كَثِيرَةٍ وَضُرُوبٍ عَدِيدَةٍ. He says, and they begin to write books and author books on different topics and in different fields and in different disciplines, different disciplines. And from the books which were most beneficial, from the books which were pound for pound better, from the books which were most authentic, from the books which had the greatest circulation, were al-kutub as-sitta, those that were known to the scholars of Islam and the general masses of the Muslims were the 6 books. First and foremost was the book of Imam al-Bukhari, whose name was Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari. And then the book of Abu al-Hussein, his kunya, whose name was Muslim, the son of al-Hajjaj al-Naysaburi from Nishapur. And then the book of Abu Isa, Muhammad ibn Isa at-Tirmidhi. But before that, he mentions the book of Sunan Abi Dawood, Sulaiman ibn al-Ash'ath as-Sijistani. Then the book of Abu Isa at-Tirmidhi. Then the book of Abu Abdurrahman, Ahmad ibn Shu'aib al-Nasai, who really wasn't from the 3rd century. He died in the 4th century. What year did he die in? 303. So technically he's not from Al-Qarn al-Thalith. But he lived most of his life and he wrote his book during the what? During the what? 3rd century. Everyone understand this? But chronologically he's not from that era. He died outside of it, but he was born, raised, and lived in that era. And last but not least is the book of Abu Abdullah, Muhammad ibn Yazid, who's known as Ibn Majah. He says, and all of these books have their special traits and their unique qualities. They all have their ups, their things in which they outdid the others. Everyone understand this? All of them have them. طيب. He says, and there are many explanations and many commentaries that were made for these 6 books. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. Bidnillahi ta'ala, we're going to stop here tonight, whereas we took a lot of information. And I think that I was very demanding, maybe too demanding, with regards to information and participation from the students. So I don't want to have you guys sitting here losing your attention too much. We're going to stop here, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And depending on what time the adhan is, we can either take a brief intermission and pause or break. You guys can get some refreshments if you like. Or if they want to start with the questions now, they can do that as well. Whatever you guys wish to do, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Please, brothers and sisters, if you've come to the class, we've come to the session to follow it and to get all of the information and the benefit, go back and review, read, prepare the things that I've mentioned, go back and research them. All of the 6 books are in English. You can read them, you can compare them, you can Google them, etc. Go to the other videos that we have done and the other books that are out there if you read Arabic, and don't just take this little small course from me, but you build upon it yourself. Build upon it yourself. Research it yourself based off of what I've given you. Bidnillahi ta'ala. And don't allow the lectures to just come and go. As far as if you've come just to hear the good statement, to sit in the masjid and to benefit, then alhamdulillah, marhaba bikum, you're welcomed. But those who are actually students trying to benefit and get tangible knowledge and move forward to another course and another book, you cannot allow yourself to just sit here and listen to the class and then that's it. And then when I come back 4 months later or 3 months later or next year, no, it doesn't work like that. Student of knowledge has to review. Student of knowledge has to prepare. Student of knowledge has to do his or her own research. I'm not here all of the time. I can't give you every single thing if I wanted to, let alone that I don't want to give you everything. So you have to research yourself, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Jazakumullah khairan. طيب. طيب, clear. Question says that Al-Mizzi rahimahullah, he said, Al-Ma'ruf bibni Majah wa illam yablugh darajatahum. He said that the 6th and the last of those imams was Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Yazid al-Qazwini, who's known as Ibn Majah. That's his nickname. Even though Ibn Majah lam yablugh darajatahum, he didn't reach the level and the status of the previous 5. What's the point of mentioning that? And what was the issue with his book? And was his book of the importance then as it is now? That's a question? Clear. What's the point of constantly mentioning the criticism? There's several reasons. One reason is just for clarification, that he's among the group, but it's not by consensus. There are some people who said that the 6th book should be the Sunnah al-Darimi. And there's some who said that the 6th book should be the Muwatta of Malik. They don't agree on it. But they don't differ on Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, Nasa'i, etc. That's one reason. Reason number 2 is all of the books have their ups and their downs. And there's some type of criticism that's been levied against each and every of those 6 books on one level or another. We're not getting into the details of that. On one level or another. And of course, in the Sunnah of Imam Abu Dawud, there are hadiths which are weak, some fabricated. In Jami' and Tirmidhi, there are hadiths which are weak, some which have been fabricated. In the Sunnah of Imam al-Nasa'i, there are hadiths which are weak, and I don't believe that there are hadiths which are fabricated in Nasa'i. It's an andhaf al-kutub, ba'd al-sahihain. But Ibn Majah rahimahullah ta'ala, he also has hadiths which are weak and fabricated, just like Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi, but much, much, much more. Many, 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 many more. So his thing is not like neck to neck with them, but he has much higher percentage of weak narrations. So this is one of the reasons why they constantly mention criticism of his book. وَإِلَّمْ يَبْلُغْ دَرَجَتَهُمْ. Clear? Next point is, that's nisbi, shay nisbi, that's relative. There's some imams who mention the 6 books and they don't say any criticism about Ibn Majah. And there's no point of saying it because he's among the 6 kalas. We're not here to discuss all of the ups and downs in the authentic or inauthentic hadiths. He's among kutub al-sitta. No problem. طيب, لا بأس. Another reason is that Ibn Majah, for everything you say about his book, there's also a virtue of his book. And there are clear reasons why his book was included in the kutub al-sitta. 1, his death. He died earlier than some of those other imams. 2, his tartib, without a question, is masterful. Jamil Jiddan, if you read Ibn Majah, how it's organized is perfect. 3 is that Ibn Majah, he shares shuyukh that many other ulama have, like Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. So, therefore, there's something that some of the ulama say and mention every single time and others don't. Clear? And Allah knows best. Any other questions, brothers and sisters? Tfaddal, akhi. Who leads the type? Question says, when it comes to congregation, and there are people who you don't know, they don't know each other, how do we know who should lead the salah? I.e., based off of the hadith, يَأُمُّ الْقَوْمَ أَقْرَأُهُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ. The most learned of the Quran, meaning its recitation, should lead the salah. But what do we know, or what do we do if we don't know who's who? Try your best. Oftentimes, if you're at the airport, or you're at a place in which there's a temporary musalla, or a masjid in which different people frequent in and out of, they look around to see who seems the most righteous. And oftentimes, it's a struggle. No, Father, you go. No, you go. Is this not the case? Because they don't really know who's who. And no one, I can't say no one, but oftentimes people, they don't want to rush towards that responsibility. And oftentimes people want to humble themselves. And unfortunately, I'm going to say the truth, there's so many different sins and acts of disobedience that have become normal that you can't necessarily pick from among who should lead the salah. There are many, many issues, like some of the things we were talking about last night, and other things which are sins and impermissible when it comes to the Muslim's dress code. Things which are not lawful for you to wear and to dress like, but that's normal. This is no longer a rare thing. Rather, Muslim men who do this, they're considered rare. Unfortunately, anyone who has a beard is considered a sheikh, and that's wrong. That's not how Islam is supposed to be. That's supposed to be a normal, basic thing. Al-isbal. وهكذا. So oftentimes the people, they don't necessarily have a specific way of doing it, but whoever seems to be the most righteous and the most knowledgeable, you go ahead. And oftentimes they have to pick from among a lot of people which aren't necessarily outwardly suited for being an imam. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah to the best way you know how. And Allah knows best. I don't think people are going to say, how much Quran do you know? Kam hafith? Do you know 2 Jews? I know 20 Jews. I don't think people are necessarily going to do that. And Allah knows best. Khairan, inshallah. If there are any questions, guys, now's the time. Tfaddal. Bismillah. Play. Bismillah. Are there any other questions, guys? Are there any questions? Tfaddal. Wa alaikum salam. Clear. What's the ruling on a woman coming to the masjid and she's on her monthly cycle, her monthly period? Is it permissible? What is the ruling on that, etc.? Khairan, inshallah. Most of the fuqaha of Islam, not all of them, but most of them hold the view that a woman is not allowed to come into the masjid while she's menstruating. Some of them may say even if she comes in and passes by, but she cannot sit down and she cannot stay therein. That's the view of most of the traditional madhahib. And there's another view that says that a mincing woman is allowed to enter the masjid and she's allowed to sit in the masjid and benefit from classes and dhikr. Both parties have their proofs and evidences. Both parties have their proofs and evidences. From the most authentic of the proofs and evidences of the first party is the narration which the Prophet ﷺ would make i'tikaf. And he would place his head outside of the window or the door of the masjid, and Aisha radiallahu anha would comb his hair, will comb his hair, or she would give him something or hand him something, and she would just, like the sister just did with the question. She didn't want to come in front of the camera, in front of the brother, so she just tossed it. Clear? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Inna haydataki laysat fi yadiki." He says, your menstruation is not in your hand. Your menstruation is not in your hand. Meaning, these scholars, they say, that Aisha knew and Aisha understood that if she was menstruating, she was not to come into the masjid. And she only gave him her what? Her hand. So this is one proof that they use. And obviously this hadith is an authentic hadith, collected in the Sahihain. Another proof that they use, which is also authentic, collected in the Sahih, is the narration of Atiyah, in which the Prophet ﷺ, or she says, Umirna, she says, on the day of Eid, we were commanded for everyone to go to the Eid. Everybody. Everyone should go to the Eid. Hatta al-huyyad. He says, even the mincing women or menstruating women. فَأَمَّا الْحُيَّضُ فَيَعْتَزِلْنَا الْمُصَلَّى. As far as menstruating women, then they would stay away from the musalla. And they would sit, listen to the dhikr, listen to the khutbah, make dua with the Muslims. So they say this proves that the menstruating woman is not to be on the musalla. These are authentic hadiths in which they use. Is it correct, the usage, وَجْعَ الْإِسْتِدْلَالِ بِهَذَيْنِ الْحَدِيثَيْنِ الصَّحِيحَيْنِ? That's not the point. The point is this proofs that they use are authentic. And then they have other hadiths that they use which definitely are not authentic. Whether the ulama differ over them, or whether it's something which is generally agreed upon and that's not authentic. Such as the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ is quoted to have said in Sunnah Abi Dawud, "Inni la uhillu al-masjida." I do not allow the masjid to be for a ha'id or a junub. Hadith is not authentic. Okay, and there are other proofs and evidences that they use. As far as the other narrations, or the other side, the other scholars, then the proofs and evidences that they use, which are authentic, first and foremost is al-bara'atu al-asliyah. Al-bara'atu al-asliyah. They say that there's no specific proof which is authentic to state otherwise. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ. Masjids are for Allah. Go to the masjid, be in the masjid. وَرَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ فِي الْمَسَاجِد. The virtue of being in the masjids. And that it's not haram for a woman to come to the masjid until it is authentically, clearly proven otherwise. As far as the textual evidences that they use, then is the authentic hadith in the Sahih of Aisha regarding the slave girl. كَانَ لَهَا خِبَاءٌ فِي الْمَسْجِدِ. She would have a tent in the masjid. And she would go to Aisha, and she would tell Aisha how she became a Muslim and how she became a believer. And how she was a servant, a slave, and she was accused of stealing. You know this hadith? It was a piece of jewelry. And they accused her of stealing. And they accused her so horribly of stealing. It says, فَتَّشُوا قُبُلَهَا. They accused her of placing the jewelry inside of her private part. They called her a thief. And they looked inside of her and say, is the jewelry inside you? And we all know what happened, that the bird had the jewelry and it dropped it. She didn't steal when she wasn't a thief. Well-known narration. Al-Muhim is that she was in the masjid. And she had a tent in the masjid. And they say, what are the chances of a woman being in the masjid, living, sleeping, and not having a what? Menstruation. Very unlikely. And the Prophet ﷺ allowed her to stay in the what? In the masjid. Clear on this? And there are other proofs and evidences that they use. So it's khilaf among the ulama of Islam with regards to can a menstruating woman come or not come. I think a very important point in 2019 is standards of hygiene are very, very different. Back in the day, hygiene, Muslims always had hygiene, alhamdulillah. Muslims were always advanced. They were above the rest in hygiene. When other non-Muslims, whether in Europe or other parts of the world, lived very, 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 very dirty. What they drank, what they ate, what they slept upon, how they lived, very, very disgusting. And the Muslims had siwak and ghusl and wudu. And some historians say that Tariq ibn Ziyad was the one who brought ghusl to Western Europe. That's an interesting fact. How long ago did the Muslims have ghusl before Tariq ibn Ziyad? They said he was the one who brought it to them, the concept of a regular ghusl, let alone toothstick, dental health, etc. Al-Muhim is that some of the ulama, they say that if a woman wants to come into the masjid and listen to a class or a lecture, her iman is low, and she's menstruating, some of them would say that she has to make sure that there's nothing which will stain or soil the masjid. Nothing which will stain or soil the masjid, i.e., in those days, certain things of hygiene were not how they are now. A woman, she leaves her house, she gets in a car, she can play sports, and she's menstruating, and you'll never ever know because of standards of hygiene are different. Products are nothing like how they used to be back then. So therefore, that fear of a woman coming into the masjid and leaving some type of impure blood, menstruation, blood of menstruation is najis. That's totally outdated. Everyone understand? That's totally what? Outdated. A woman can come into the masjid and she can be cleaner than a woman who isn't menstruating. So that's not even a factor anymore. Everyone understand the point I'm trying to get to? Al-Muhim, in brief, I would say that if a sister wants to come into the class and benefit and learn and be among the sisters, then she should do so. And there's no sin upon her in that. And Allah surely knows best. Question says, should you as a new student of the Quran balance learning both the Quran and the sciences of Hadith? What the prerequisites to be your student? Tayyib. It depends on the student. It depends on how far you want to go. You wish to take it to a high level, you want to be dedicated, you want to be committed, you want to be serious, then there's a systematic way of you studying. As far as if you're just trying to wet your feet and you're just trying to get started and be studious and be righteous and then later on, then that's a different story. So if you're trying to be a talib al-ilm, bima'na al-kalima, a disciple, you're trying to study and learn systematically, then start off with the Arabic language. Start off with memorizing the Quran. Start off with perfecting your recitation of the Quran. Learn how to read the Quran, which is more important than memorizing it. Tasheeh al-qira'ah, learning how to read it properly, which makes it easy for you to memorize it. You can memorize it by yourself if you can read it properly. That's the first step. Then you learn Arabic. And then bidhnillahi ta'ala, you learn the other basic sciences. As far as if you just want to get a little bit of this and a little bit of that, then mix it up. Take Quran class and take a Hadith course. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. Or it depends on what type of person you are. Can you double task or multitask? Some people have one-track mind or one-tracked minds. They can only focus on one thing at a time. And there's nothing wrong with that. After they've mastered it, the whole thing, or a good portion, then they move on to Hadith. Labas. If you can mix and match, if you can multitask, then perhaps it's best to multitask. But make sure that you give a good amount of focus to the Quran first and foremost. A good amount of focus. And which you can read it perfectly with no mistakes. You don't have to have the most beautiful recitation. You don't have to have the most melodious voice, but no lahan in your recitation. And that you've memorized at least Juz Amma, at least Juz Tabarak, at least Juz Qad Sama', at least the first 50 verses of Baqarah. And you can recite it properly with the correct tajweed. And then there's nothing wrong with learning 40 hadith while you memorize the Quran at the same time. La bas. And if you just want to focus on just the Quran until you finish it, then alhamdulillah, that's good. But the Quran is something which is always going to be more. There's always more to study from the Quran. You can study for 20, 30 years and you'll still be learning every day. Deeper tafsir, different qira'at, different stories. Al-ijaz al-ilmi, al-tafsir al-mawdu'i, la tantahi. La tantahi. Alright? So it depends on you and on your level. As far as what are the requirements for being my student, then bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, if you're sitting in the class now, inshallah, you're from my students. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And of course, there are different levels of students, yes. Do I have personal students? For sure. Students that I actually teach and study with and debate with? For sure. Are there brothers or sisters that ask questions from time to time, come to classes from time to time, more than others? For sure. And then there are people who are just generally in the audience. So it depends on what you want to do. If you want to join our classes, as we say, the dojo, and actually learn, then bidhnillahi ta'ala, you should speak to the sisters here in Toronto and address them on how to join the dojo, bidhnillahi ta'ala. And you're more than welcome. And Allah knows best. I believe last time I was here, it was one sister that said that she wanted to recruit new sisters. And she wanted to make a criterion for that. Inshallah, let's see how that turned out. How do you stop yourself from losing high aspirations when seeking knowledge? Example, you're learning Arabic and you find it very difficult even though you're trying your best. How do you push away that feeling of wanting to give up? Barakallahu feek. Something that we all suffer from, starting with myself. Firstly, all of us do. Seek help with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ista'in billah. Wala ta'jaz. The Prophet says, seek Allah's help and don't make yourself weak. Don't give up, don't quit. Nothing good comes easily. Nothing good comes for free. You have to work. And don't be in a rush. Don't be hasty. Don't be in a rush and don't be hasty. You got to be patient. Knowledge doesn't come overnight. All right? If someone says, how can I be your student? Know for sure that there was a time in which I had to start off as a beginner. And I didn't know. And I had to memorize. And I had to struggle. Don't give up. Don't quit. Well, alhamdulillah. What's important is keep at it. Stay at it. Seek Allah's help. Make sure that you're doing it the right way. And know for sure, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, that Allah Azza wa Jal is ma'al muhsineen. Allah is with those who do good and those who try and those who strive. Don't give up. Don't quit. And seek help after you seek help with Allah and your sisters. Ask them to show you the tricks of the trade and how did you get it and how did you grasp it. What's important is you're learning a foreign language. A language that's not written in Latin letters. It's different. It's different. It takes time. It takes effort. But just stay at it and make sure that you study it in the right way. In the easy, simplified way. Take baby steps, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and gradually spin your wheel to gain momentum. And Allah surely knows best. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Do you have any tips on how to love knowledge? You have to have a reason to love knowledge. Just like you have a reason to love people. A man says, I love my wife. She has a beautiful personality. She's funny. She's smart. She's comforting. She's charming. She's physically beautiful, etc. You have to have a reason. So what are the reasons of loving knowledge? Knowledge has a taste. It's sweet. Knowledge is addictive. Knowledge is a companion. When you have no friends, when you're somewhere, it's snowing outside, it's raining at night, you're locked up in jail, the book is anisuk. That's your friend that keeps you company. And you can never get bored and never get tired with a good book. Whatever that book may be, a novel, a dictionary, a book of hadith, whatever that book may be. Books don't cheat. Books don't trade on you. Books don't forsake you. Humans do. Humans do. You may love your husband and then he cheats on you. You may love your wife and she wakes up one day and she says, I don't feel like I love you the same anymore. Out of the middle of nowhere. This is proven in history. Literally. You're just, I don't love you anymore. After 10, 20 years. I'm like, what do you mean? She says, I don't feel the same anymore. But books never do that. Books are always there for you. They always keep you company. Let alone the fact that books are means of you getting to know who Allah is. And getting to Jannah. As Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala says, أَطْيَبُ مَا فِي هَذِهِ الدُّنْيَا. He says the most sweet thing, the sweetest thing in this worldly life is knowing Allah and loving Him. Knowing Him by His names and attributes and loving Him. So knowledge, you have to get acquainted to what knowledge is and what it does for you. And get involved in it. And inshallah ta'ala, as the Prophet says, لَا تُحْصِي فَيُحْصِي اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ. He says, don't count and keep track of everything unless you want Allah to do that with you. Just give, just spin, read, study, and get lost in it. Give yourself up to knowledge. Lose all restrictions. You have restrictions when you get married, or you have restrictions when you get remarried, or people that don't get married, boyfriend and girlfriend. Just says, I was hurt. I don't want to give my heart up again. I don't want to open up my heart again because I was heartbroken last time. You can't do that with knowledge. Bismillah. Open up everything. Give yourself to knowledge. And inshallah, fall in love with it. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He will bless you and reward you for that. That's what I would say. And with Allah is all success. Assalamu alaikum. Is it really hard to find a spouse? It's really hard to find a spouse. If a brother, something, I feel we're really compatible. It's a brother I know, I think. I feel we're really compatible. Proposes to me and lets me know that he occasionally misses a prayer and is working on it. Is that something that is something to pursue with the intention of, inshallah, being able to help him? Jazakallah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It depends on the sister. If you are a sister who make witr and tahajjud and duha and ishraq and Sunnah and ratiba, and you're in the masjid and you do tafeed with children and you're volunteering and so on and so forth, then of course you can't marry a brother like this. It's no way. It's no way possible you can even think about marrying a brother like that, period. You have to make your selection among a pool of selected brothers because you're on a higher level. You're making duha and tahajjud and witr every single night, and he's struggling with a salawat al-khams. You're wasting your time. As far as if you yourself are struggling with salawat al-khams, or you make the salawat al-khams, you're righteous and pious, but you're not on that high level, and he's a good brother, he's compatible, inshallah, he's a good, honest person, he's trying, maybe. It's possible, mumkin. Okay, just because a person has a mistake, missing salah is a mistake, doesn't mean he's a bad person. He may have a really good heart. He may have beautiful akhlaq. He may have a good paying job. He may be handsome. He may be a good husband for you, but he has some shortcomings. Maybe. As far as brothers who make all 5 prayers and make tahajjud and witr, they may be evildoers. Waliyadhu billah. There's some brothers that come into the masjid, they pray in jama'ah, and they're evildoers. It's known that they're evildoers. They live a second life, a third life. Or they may be abusive to women, or very disrespectful to their parents. It's very possible. So look at the brother as a whole, look at his character as a whole, and be upfront and be honest with him. Are you really working on it? What's so hard? What's so difficult? What's stopping you from making your prayers all of the time? I can't be with a brother who's like this and like that. And see what he says. As far as if you're already on a high level, then I wouldn't advise you to go down and compromise your standards. Unless it's very, very difficult and you feel like you're getting older and older and older. So it depends on the situation. And with Allah is all success. Are there any other questions, brothers, before we stop? Fadal. Which? Tayyip, question says, with regards to a credit card, and someone asking me about which credit card is best, can I tell him, and if I tell him, is it considered to be assisting people upon a sin and exposing my sins? It depends on what you believe about credit cards. If you feel that credit cards are haram, then of course don't tell him anything. And don't explain anything if you have a credit card of your own sins. If you feel that credit cards are not haram, or some of them are haram and others are, or credit cards are haram but oftentimes they're a necessity, not all of the time but oftentimes, or sometimes there's a necessity to have a credit card, then that's one thing. So if you believe that the credit card is halal, or that it's okay sometimes, and someone asks you because they want to get a credit card because of necessity, then tell them this is the best card, it's the lowest this, you don't have to deal with this fee, so on and so forth. That's one thing. But if you know or you feel that it's haram, then of course say, I can't help you, akhi. Credit cards are haram. Jazakallah khairan. Allah's earth is spacious. You can get it from another way. You don't need it, so on and so forth. That's the best thing to do. So it depends on what you believe and what's in your heart. Obviously, the discussion of credit cards is a very long discussion and a very serious and dangerous discussion. All right? But we don't want to get into that right now. Assalamu alaikum. Can you elaborate the hadith about belief returning to Medina like a snake runs to its hole when threatened? Jazakallahu khairan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah bless you. There are many authentic hadiths about the virtues of Medina. The virtues of Medina. About dying in Medina. About being patient upon the hardships. Man sabara ala shiddatiha wa la'wa'iha. And how the Prophet will intercede for you on Yawm al-Qiyamah about being in Medina. And the Dajjal not entering Medina. And kicking out the Fusaq and the Munafiqun out of Medina, except many authentic hadith about Medina. And from that is this hadith. And that Medina, as is mentioned in other narrations, from the last cities to be destroyed and done away with. And Medina, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, will be from those cities which the people as a whole and in general will remain steadfast much more than other countries and other cities and other locations and regions. So that's what's meant by this hadith, and that's what included in this hadith. And the concept of people making hijrah, and the concept of people making hajj and umrah and visiting Medina and studying Medina and going back to Medina as the center, as the heart, as it once was. Mahbitul wahi. It was where the revelation was sent down, where the revelation came down. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Fadl akhi. طيب. طيب. Questions regarding speaking during the khutbah. إذا قلت لصاحبك أنصت, when you tell your friend to be quiet or to listen, فقد لغوت, etc. When you speak, does it nullify your khutbah? If you say sallallahu alayhi wasallam or ameen. The ulama of Islam, they have two main views regarding this. Some of them say that you should say ameen, whether you say it to yourself or whether you say it out loud, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's because that's the general etiquette of dua. And others, they say no. The Prophet ﷺ's words warning us to speak during the khutbah take precedence here, and it should not be done. And some of them even say sallallahu alayhi wasallam, you shouldn't say anything. طيب. Others, they say that when the imam speaks to you, it's permissible to speak back to him. And if the imam is making a general dua for all of the Muslims, there's nothing wrong with you saying ameen. And he's mentioning the Prophet ﷺ's name, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, ثُمَّ عَلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَمَرَكُمْ بِأَمْرٍ, that Allah has commanded you to do something, and he started off with it himself. إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ, etc. So bid'Allah ta'ala, hopefully, la haraj, is nothing wrong with that. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with that, inshallah. Saying ameen and saying sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum. If a sister you knew who works in a store and offers you a discount or gives you a free meal, is that considered stealing? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It depends on the store, and it depends on the sister. It's well known that there are many places and establishments in which the bosses and the owners, they don't mind these types of things. Oftentimes the boss may get upset and angry if you say, can I take a soda? Can I have a thing of fries? Or can I try this on, or can I wear this and then put it back? They'll get upset at you, like, what are you wasting my time? Don't ask me these stupid, silly questions. You work there, I trust you, we're making money. Come on, man. It's petty. Everyone understand this? Or you're in a restaurant and the server, whether it's a man or a woman, he says, let's say for example you're in a sushi restaurant. Perfect example, huh? Shaykh Hassan. Akramakallah. May Allah give you food of Jannah. Ameen. Tayyib. And give you of the tayyibat of this life as man. وَمِن ذَلِكَ sushi. بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. لَحْمًا طَرِيًّا, Allah says. From the sea, you get what? لَحْمًا طَرِيًّا. Allah says, delicate flesh. What could be more delicate than fresh sushi, yakhi? A T-bone steak at sahan is not what? لَحْمًا طَرِيًّا. Barakallah feek. Tayyib. So you go to a sushi restaurant, right? And you finish your meal, and they say, do you want more tea? And then they say, would you like dessert? We have green tea ice cream, red bean ice cream, etc. And you say, no, it's okay, no thank you, I'm fine. Tayyib. And then the waitress or the waiter, they come back and they give you the oranges with the toothpicks and the pineapple slices, and they say, it's free. Or they bring you a scoop of green tea ice cream and say, what? It's on the house. Who mandated that? The owner of the restaurant, the one with the inventory, it's the waiter, the waitress, they're giving you free ice cream. Is that stealing? No. It's not necessarily stealing. And that's because it's something which is already known and accepted. He's a good customer, they gave a good tip, they said they enjoyed the food, give them some ice cream. Bring back the customers. And if it is stealing, or if it isn't impermissible, or it's not mandated, what would the job of the waiter be if he called the boss, went to the boss' house, hey, last night I gave these guys from Masjid Abu Hurairah 3 scoops of green tea ice cream? May lose his job. It's like, what's wrong with you? The boss, the owner of the restaurant, he may not trust them because of this act of stupidity. You come to my house, you call me, I'm busy, and you say they gave 3 scoops of ice cream for free to customers that spend $100 at my restaurant. Something is clearly wrong with you. So the speech of the ulama and the fuqaha is never removed from the culture. The culture. And when we have a concept of أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن بيع الغرر ونهى عن الجهالة, that the Prophet, he forbade risky transactions which are unknown. That doesn't apply to everything. If you have a phone bill, you pay for unlimited service, unlimited data. أليس فيه غرر ولا لا؟ أليس فيه جهالة? Is it known or unknown how much you're going to talk in text? Known or unknown? Without a question. You may use 50 gigs, you may use 2 gigs, but you pay a flat rate. You go to an all-you-can-eat restaurant. You pay $10.99 and eat as much as you want to eat. The restaurant is not losing money. They have made it, they have planned it in order for people to eat as much as they want, and they still make a profit. So all jahala is not necessarily haram, especially al-jahalatul yasira. Everyone understand this? So someone gives you something, you're a friend, they help you out, it's not necessarily always haram. But not all restaurants are like that. Some restaurants it may be illegal, and the owner doesn't want you to give out a free soda or an extra scoop of ice cream. But in most cases, in most establishments, they're not really going to what? It's not a big deal. It's not a what? It's not a big deal. Everyone understand this? Let alone the fact that the concept of giving someone a tip. Someone says it's haram to give a tip. Tip is cheating. A tip is favoritism, etc. You can't necessarily say that. It's not always like that. So you have to look at the culture in which you're in, what they're giving you. If you go to a store, I don't know if they have in Canada, like Macy's, and your friend works in Macy's and they give you a free pocketbook or free suitcase, go ahead, it's on me. That's a problem, because that's not a scoop of ice cream anymore. Everyone understand? That's a problem. They say, here, take this watch, take this jewelry, take this expensive cologne. That's not what? It's not the same anymore. It's a big difference. That's a what? It's a big difference. But someone says, I'll give you a discount. I'll take some of the price off. That's well known. They do it all of the time. The shoes cost $200, and the lady, she scans it, and I'll take it down $130. It's not necessarily stealing. And don't forget that they're making their money at the end of the day was ziyada. They're making their money in much, much, much more. All right? So it's a balance in these issues. And Allah surely knows best. Let alone the food that's wasted at the end of the day and thrown out. Or when products are returned to Walmart, it's illegal to take them out of the trash. I know people who work there and have friends who work there in New York City. Anything which is returned to Walmart, if it's brand new in the box, they throw it in the trash. It could be a 100-inch retina TV. It's in the trash. And anyone who takes this stuff out of the trash goes to court. He's in jail. He's locked up. You understand this? You're talking about a conglomerate, a corporation. And Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum. What is the ruling on praying 2 rak'ah after Asr and the means of Tawbah? Is it permissible? Scholars differ on that with regards to praying after Asr before Maghrib. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, if it's something which is a necessity and it's something which is necessary, there's nothing wrong with doing it. Because it's, salah, that's sabab. It's a specific prayer. And it's not just you making a nafl al-mutlaq or tatawu al-mutlaq. Inshallah, hopefully there's nothing wrong with that. And if you wait until after Maghrib, perhaps that's best. But last but not least is when a person wishes to make Tawbah, 2 rak'ah of Tawbah, Tawbah isn't restricted to 2 rak'ah. If you've made a sin, you can make repentance to Allah without making 2 rak'ah. But of course, based off of that narration in Sunnah Abi Dawood, that's going to be better. And Allah knows best. Khalas? Fadl. Tayyib. Question on consuming machine slaughtered food. Widely accepted opinion or the correct opinion. It depends on the animal. And it depends on the machine. A large animal is not like a small animal. Some of the modern day fuqaha and modern day researchers, al-bahithin, they say that a cow or camel, a bull, is not like a chicken or turkey. The volume of meat, the volume of blood, how long it takes for the signal from the brain, etc. So there's a difference first and foremost in the animal. So a cow or a bull or a camel, a large goat and ram, let's exclude all those animals. Let's just deal with chickens now. Chickens and maybe even turkeys. Let's just say chickens. Number 1. Number 2 is, what's the machine? Is the machine a razor sharp blade that's quickly ran across the throat of the chicken? Maybe. Electrocution, hitting them in the head, stunning them, then cutting them? No. Number 3, who is the person that's operating the machine? A Muslim versus a Buddhist or Hindu or some other type of sect of kufr. Clear? Number 4, is Bismillah being said when the man cuts on the machine, or is it not being said? He says Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, go. It's not like someone who just cuts on the machine. Number 5, is Bismillah being said and repeated for each and every single chicken? Or is it just being mentioned in the beginning? So with these conditions that I've just explained to you, some of the ulama and some modern day researchers, they say it is permissible to eat chickens that are slaughtered like this, and it's mass means of slaughtering with those conditions. Clear? And if those conditions are not fulfilled, then it is maita. It's a dead chicken, which is unlawful to eat. And Allah knows best. Tafadhal.
Yeah, a person living in Western countries, despite the wealth and the fact that his family and his children have to
Tayyib. Questions regarding one who lives in a Western country. He needs to write a will to protect his wealth, to protect his children, his family. How does Islam view it, etc.? There lies no doubt that a will is from the deen. That Islam is a way of life and a way of death. It's a complete system. So of course, if someone has material possessions and property, he dies, those material possessions and that property has to go somewhere. So for sure, Islam has given us clear instruction regarding that. So in Al-Islam, there is a will, without a doubt. But before we go that far, many people, they make a mistake and they confuse a will with inheritance. In Islam, there are two different entities. Western secular countries or Eastern secular countries, there may be just one entity. So in Islam, there is a way of writing a will. There's a way. And there is a ruling on writing the will. The will should be written even before you're old and sick. You should write your will. And from time to time, you should periodically renew it and update it. I just bought a new house. I just bought a new car. I just bought a new this. I just bought a new investment. I just got new land, new property. You should update your will. And your will should be, or there should be people that are witnesses. There's an etiquette of writing the will. But the will is a bit different from inheritance. Whereas there are people in Islam which are not allowed to inherit from you. They are not allowed to get anything from your estate. And that person could be a blood relative. That person could be your wife. You may be married to a non-Muslim woman, a Christian woman. If she's not a Muslim, there's a ruling. But a will is a bit different. You could write a will for someone other than a Muslim. Or another difference is how much money the person can get. In Canada or America, I leave all of my money for my dog. My dog gets everything. This is a true story. Just a little while back in Manhattan, there was a woman who left millions of dollars for her dog. And he's the legal heir of all of that money. Or you may leave money for someone who's a stranger. Or you may leave money and property for someone who's normally an heir, but you give them more. In Islam, inheritance is limited. If you have a wife, she can't take more than this or less than that. So there are similarities and parallels, and there are differences with regards to will versus what? Inheritance. It's two different things now. But when we die, there is no Islamic court. There is no qadi in which he himself takes the wealth. Next case. No, the money is there. And if no one has a will, where does it go? Or I wrote everything for my wife, or divorce, etc. So this is a clash. Al-Muhim, we don't have time right now to discuss this in detail. What's important is that write down your possessions, write down your property, and you yourself, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, make the qasman tarikat. You split it off. I have one wife, 3 children, 2 boys, 2 girls, my grandmother's alive, my uncle, etc. If you can't do it by yourself, then there are many people who do it. It's service. You can go online. There is an inheritance generator. Put in your family members, their ages, the gender and the sex, and they can give you what should go to what. This woman, she receives 1/4 of your wealth. And this person gets half. And this person gets kada, and kada, and kada. Everyone understand this? So do you yourself do the inheritance yourself in your will. But the problem is, it's not like the Sharia, in which is going to be absolutely enforced properly. The Sharia is based off of whatever is left after the will is split up with or without the person's consent. Everyone understand this? It's done. It's given to who deserves it, as long as they can prove the relationship to you. Everyone understand this or not? So if you don't have the qadi and the Sharia, you do it yourself. Write your will, and it's permissible to give someone money who is not a warith, an heir, as long as it isn't more than 1/3 of your wealth. So let's say, for example, you have $90,000. That's not counting, including your houses, your cars. $90,000 Canadian, 90,000, right? You can put in a will someone who is not related to you, and someone who is not an heir to you, and some may even say someone who isn't a Muslim. Al-Muhim, they're not a warith. They're not an heir. As mentioned in Surah An-Nisa, Allah talks about the heirs, people who inherit. But you can't give them more than 30,000. It can't be more than a third. You can't give them 50,000. The other 60,000 must go to the preparation of your body. It must go to your debts, so on and so forth. And the people who are normally standard waratha, heirs, that deserve your wealth. Clear on that? So inshallah ta'ala, there are many sites and also many videos that discuss on a proper way of writing al-wasiyyatul islamiyya. What you want done to your body, how you want your body washed, who to wash your body, etc. Bidnillahi ta'ala. And Allah knows best. Next question says, Assalamu alaikum. Should a person still attend a secular post-secondary such as law and med school at the risk of entering into riba due to the high cost, i.e. 33,000 for 1 year of law school? You should go to law school and med school if you feel like that's good for you. And if you feel like you have the ability, the talent, the skill, and the desire to do it. And that if you can help the Muslims and support Islam and take care of your family. And if you have the means to afford it. As far as you don't have the means, you have to go into serious debt, let alone riba, just debt. And it's something that we have to be careful, guys. Many people, they only look at riba. And they only think that riba is the only problem. Like we mentioned last night. There are many things that take place in a bank which are haram besides riba. We said this last night, right? قُلْنَا هَذَا. And the same applies to getting a debt. Is it good? Is it Islamic? Is it recommended for you to go into debt unnecessarily? Do you need this degree? Are you going to be a doctor? Do you need to? You have to ask yourself this serious question. Your parents, or the parents with the children, I want my son to be a doctor and a lawyer, but it does not mean that the son wants to be a doctor or a lawyer. He may hate it. He may not be good. He may not be smart enough. Let's be honest. He may not be suited for that task. What's the point of you going to $100,000 debt? All of that debt that you have to pay off with interest. Is that even smart? If it was without interest, is it even what? Is it advisable? Everyone understand this? So there are many professions and many jobs and many things that you can do. You can make good money and you can live and be comfortable and have a family without being a doctor or a lawyer. So we have to be mindful of this. Do we need doctors as Muslims? Of course we do. We need lawyers. If I get into trouble, I'm going to call a lawyer. Without a doubt. I'm going to pay a lawyer my money who knows the law. I'm not going to call a scholar of fiqh. I'm not going to call a person who studies medicine. I'm going to call a lawyer. So lawyers are a necessity. But does that mean that everyone has the ability to be a lawyer? And if we need lawyers and doctors, we also need many other professions. A doctor and a lawyer, or a doctor specifically, is nothing without a truck driver. Without that person who has that CDL license, there are no medical supplies. Do we know the power and the importance of trucks? When you drive at nighttime and the road is full of those big, long 18-wheelers. Trucks run the dunya. Not planes, not boats, but what? Trucks. Trucks make sure that the produce is fresh in the morning. Trucks bring the emergency, the blood. Trucks, they give things, they transport things. Trucks are very important. So every Muslim can't be a doctor or a lawyer. Let alone the fact that the doctor and the lawyer is of no use without the what? The truck driver. So there's some people, some Muslims who need to be truck drivers. And you can make good money, and it's a halal job, and kada, and kada, and kada. But if we're stuck on status quo, lawyer, doctor, engineer, then obviously we're going to fall into this problem of interest, of debt, of riba. My son started the school, he dropped out. My daughter went to school, she couldn't make it, etc. Why do we have this stigma that you have to have this one single job? Wallahi, if my son was a plumber, and he was happy, and he took care of a family, and he raised the family, and the bills were paid, and the rent was paid, or his house was bought, I would be happy, alhamdulillah. That's better than someone who's a doctor or a lawyer, and who's living on debt and living on riba. And 20 years go by, and they're still paying off those debts. So we have to be mindful, guys, that you get something, but it comes with a very high price. Some people can do that. They have the money, well, alhamdulillah. Others don't. Others shouldn't. So we have to be mindful of our means. And Allah knows best. Question says, Nando's halal locations stun their chickens before slaughter. Is this considered halal? The animal should not be stunned before it's slaughtered. It should not be stunned. If it is stunned, then there's some who say it's nothing wrong with it as long as it is not dead. It is alive. The chicken is alive. But one way or one process stuns it. Maybe, mumkin. But that's not the proper way. The animal's soul and life should be taken quickly and swiftly without stunning the animal. But some say that it's permissible with the condition is that the animal is not dead and that there's actual life in it when it is slaughtered. That's for Nando's or any other restaurant. Allah knows best. Salam, are wedding rings haram? I wouldn't necessarily say they're haram. You can buy a wife a ring, or you can, if a man, let's say for example, let's say that a woman gave a man a ring as a gift because they got married, and the ring is silver. It's not gold. It's not white gold. It's silver. And he wears it on his pinky or his ring finger. Tayyib. As far as a wedding band, specific ring with a specific aqidah and tradition and culture, then that's a different story. But for argument's sake, if a man bought his wife a wedding ring with the band, with the diamond, etc., we can't necessarily say it's haram. Everything that started off as a pagan tradition doesn't mean that it remains a pagan tradition. Everything that started off by the mushriks of Rome and Greece doesn't mean that it's haram today. And this is culturally accepted. The man buys the two pieces, it's white gold, it's diamond, etc. Can't say that's haram necessarily. And some may say that it's haram because it's based off of superstition. And Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum. A sister I know is struggling with the deen and is always questioning the Quran, Allah's wisdom. How should I go about this? Talk to her. Sit down with her. Be honest with her. Be upfront with her. Talk to her as a concerned sister and get her to trust you and tell me what's wrong. How can I help you? If I don't know, we can go to the masjid. We can go online. But do not allow the doubts to fester. Do not allow the doubts to linger in your head. And do not allow the things to snowball. Deal with it. Discuss it. And there's nothing wrong with getting sick. But it's something wrong with you allowing the sickness to fester. Everyone can get sick. Everyone can get injured. Anyone can get an infection or a sickness or a disease. But not going to the doctor, not treating it, not curing it, not fighting it, now something's wrong. It's not your fault that you got this illness, but it is your specialist. So help out the sister, talk to the sister, let her know that you're not trying to judge her, and just discuss it with her. And if you can answer the question, alhamdulillah, you do that. And if you can't, take her to someone who can remove those doubts and explain to her the things that she's going through and the problems that she has regarding Allah's wisdom and the Quran. And Allah knows best. Salam, if I missed Fajr, Dhuhr and Asr but prayed Maghrib and will pray Isha, inshallah, can I pray the ones I missed? It's best to make up the prayers in order. It's best to make the prayers up in order. It's not necessarily obligatory all of the time, but it's best. So that's what you should do. So if you already made Maghrib and Isha, go back to the Dhuhr and the Asr. And Allah Azza wa Jalla surely knows best. Khairan, inshallah. If there are no more questions, we'll stop. Fadl. Question is regarding raising future generations in a state of transgender culture and homosexual culture and propaganda, etc. The answer generally is the ways of raising children in any environment. Tarbiyah. The proper tarbiyah of Islam. And first and foremost, the proper tarbiyah is before the child is born. Before you get married, there's tarbiyah. The woman that you marry. The man that you marry. His background, his life. That's the first step of tarbiyah. It is not, tarbiyah doesn't start when the baby is born, when the aqiqah, Mahdi. The tarbiyah starts if the woman that you pick and the husband, the man that you pick as a woman. Number two, when you get married, make sure that you feed your wife with the halal food, lawful wealth, physical and metaphysical. Halal chicken and money that's free from riba and other haram acts. Drugs, stealing people's wealth, ripping off third world countries, whatever is haram. Make sure that your wife is nourished with the halal and the tayyib from day one before she even conceives your child. And make sure that you don't abuse your wife and disrespect your wife and then you don't fight with your wife. Because all of those things have a direct and an indirect effect on the child that's going to be in her body. And the child that's going to have her blood and her DNA. Sicknesses and illnesses can be passed down through trauma. It's been proven. Things can be passed down through trauma from the mother to the child. That's a very long discussion. Many brothers, they abuse their wives. They fight. They have major problems. And then she gives birth to a child, and the child comes out crooked or too much of this or too little of that. They don't want to be a Muslim. I'm a homosexual. I'm really a lesbian. Oftentimes the problem behind that is the suffering that the woman had to go through because you beat her up and because you cursed her and because you did this when she was pregnant. There's no question about that. When it's time to conceive the child, i.e. when you go to your wife intimately, make the dua of the Prophet ﷺ for Allah to protect you from shaitan and for Allah to keep shaitan from the rizq that he will give you. Make this dua. How many brothers make this dua every time you sleep with your wife? Make that prophetic supplication. Once a woman is pregnant, make more dua. I want to eat the halal foods. Don't fight your wife. Don't beat up your wife. Do not get into arguments with your wife. Allow your wife to listen to the Quran and always have the Quran playing. Teach your wife and educate her more so when she has the child, she can educate the child. Once the child is born, give the child a good, strong Islamic name. A good, strong, and symbolic name, not a generic name. A name that's meaningful. And teach them about that name and what it means and what it stands up for and what it represents. And educate the child. Feed the child with the halal. Don't abuse the child. Teach the child the Quran. Teach the child bravery, courage, dignity, respect, cleanliness, etc. The child's education, the child's physical development, etc. The general rules of tarbiyah. And that's because the tarbiyah of Islam is meant to protect the child from any vice and anything which is harmful. Whether it is not being a Muslim, being a homosexual, being a drunkard, being a sinner, being a disobedient child, anything which is a vice, radila. Islam's tarbiyah is meant to protect the child from that. Clear on that? So that's the general way. As far as the specific way, then you have to educate the child and you have to raise awareness of the child. Me personally, when I'm with my children and we go out to eat or we go to the toy store or whatever we're doing, wherever we are, I teach my children. I say, you see that right there? What that represents? That means something. And I say to my oldest daughter and sometimes my youngest daughter, I say, you see this person here? This person is not natural. This is a man who's dressing up like a woman. That's not okay. It's not funny if you see it in a cartoon. If you see it in a movie, don't laugh. It's not funny. It's not a joke. And you educate them what a rainbow stands for. You tell them how this person, I'm only being realistic. You may be in a restaurant and your daughter says, Abby, what's wrong with this guy over there? Or what's wrong with this lady? Why does this lady look? I said, honey, that's not a lady. That's not a woman. That is a man. Clearly. And you give them the concept of disgust. I'm not talking about someone and look. I'm talking about that. You have to teach them that it's like, oh, yuck. Astaghfirullah. I say, yes, honey. It is yucky. It is nasty for a man to want to be like a woman or a woman to be like a man. You teach them that from a young age. And you raise their awareness from a young age. Is that there are people who are homosexuals. There are people who are transgender. You don't have to curse them and harm them. Lakum dinukum waliya din. You have your way, I have mine. But your identity as a Muslim has to be distinguished. And it's not okay. And it's not acceptable. And it is unnatural. And there's no scientist or psychologist or psychiatric person that can debate with me and tell me that it's natural for a man to want to be a woman or for a woman to want to sleep with another. It's not natural. Allah did not make people like that. The human body clearly proves that that's unnatural. How can you say that that's natural? So you have to teach your children this. You have to educate them. And most importantly, you have to make Islam fun for them. And you have to make the masjid fun for them. You have to give them an opportunity to have fun and to enjoy themselves in the permissible way, in which there's no need for them to go to the haram way. And you have to, most importantly, teach them about friends. Your friends are pious, righteous Muslims, no one else. Wicked Muslims, ignorant Muslims are not your friends. Let alone non-Muslims, let alone homosexuals, let alone people that have major issues and problems. They are not your friends. They may be your classmates, yes. You may work with them. There may be someone in the airport or a restaurant. Hello, how you doing? Thank you very much. General politeness, being cordial. Islam does not prevent that. But that person is not my friend. My friend in my phone, my contacts, brothers, Muslim names, Mahdi, Samir, Hishan, Fulan, Hassan. Those are my friends. There's no John and Paul and Mike and Peter in my personal contact list. So you have to teach your children this. You have to educate them and you have to raise their awareness. You have to raise their awareness and teach them that this hayat dunya is a trial. And everything is not made for you in this hayat dunya. وَالَّذِينَ تَقَوْا فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Allah says that the hereafter is for the believers. This worldly life is not absolutely for us. We have things in it, yes. We enjoy things in it, yes. We have fun in it, yes. But it's not our final destination. So that's what I would do if it was my children, and that's what I would say. And Allah knows best. Can you go to a restaurant that sells alcohol? It depends on where the alcohol is being sold. If there is a bar mixed with the restaurant, then that's clearly problematic. If the bar is at a place and the restaurant is at a place, it's separated, different story. Or people may sell alcohol, but the alcohol is not on your table, it's not near you. Mumkin, perhaps. Al-Muhim is that the ma'idah, the table spread, has no alcohol. We can't be sitting on one table and there's a bottle of champagne or red wine or white wine. No. But they're over there drinking alcohol. We're totally far from them. We're not drinking alcohol. Maybe. Or it's a restaurant and a bar. This is the bar section in which you can have pizza and drinks. And this is the restaurant section in which they just sell pizza. And Allah knows best. Khalas, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala abdi wa rasuli wa nabiyana. I'm so sorry. Inshallah, tomorrow or after Isha. Bidnillah.